I woke up in sheer terror, my heart pounding in my chest like a machine gun, my brain frantically trying to process what was happening. I could hear my wife, Cindy.
Doctor, is he going to be okay?
We're doing all we can, Mrs. Sherwood.
Bits and pieces came rushing back to me. The sudden tightness in my chest, searing pain shooting up my arm, the paramedics arriving, the screaming sirens. Then my mind took me back to Iraq, that day on patrol in Fallujah. That was the last time I'd been on a table like this, in a field hospital after nearly getting blown to pieces. God had other plans for me that day, some reason to spare me. And when I went home, the good Lord's blessings continued. So I told myself I would survive this day too. Yet I lay there helpless, hooked up to those machines. I saw another vision of my father. I watched over him in his final days, in this same hospital, dying a slow, agonizing death due to his failing prostate. He was the toughest man I'd ever known, the rock of our family, now reduced to a shell of his former self, laying there in pain and humiliation. A young nurse shoving a catheter down his pee hole every few hours to stop him from dribbling a few drops of bloody urine onto the sheets. As he drifted in and out of consciousness, moaning helplessly as the toxins flooded his bloodstream until his kidneys shut down completely. It wasn't until after my dad passed that my mother told me just how bad his prostate problem had become. He'd been too proud to tell me of the crippling pain and suffering, how he rarely left their house for the last year of his life because he hated wearing a diaper. Yet he was terrified of feeling that burning, excruciating need to go without a bathroom nearby. How he never slept for more than an hour straight because he was constantly waking up and hobbling to the toilet, only to have a few weak droplets painfully dribble out. My mother told me of the medications he'd been put on by specialists who assured him his condition was treatable, but each medication was not only outrageously expensive, they came with crushing side effects such as total impotence, which stripped away his dignity and drove him deeper into despair. And then kidney failure, which got him put on a dialysis machine and robbed him of whatever will to live he had left. I thank God for allowing me to leave the hospital and go home a few days later, and especially for the miracle that followed. A miracle that led me to an all-natural 10-second bedtime ritual that renewed my health, vitality, and manhood, and is now helping over 19,270 men around the world for just pennies a day. Instead of costly and dangerous drugs or undergoing prostate surgeries which have left some men sexually crippled for life, now there's a 100% natural way to restore prostate health, protect this essential part of your manhood for the future, and turn back the clock on your sexual function. Because if you've been noticing a decline in your sex drive, if you haven't been getting the fully firm, raging hard erections you enjoyed in your younger years, or if you don't feel in control of your ejaculations, if you finish too quickly, can't finish at all, or wish you could once again enjoy explosive, fully pleasurable orgasms, or if you've been feeling less sensitive down there and sex doesn't feel as good as it once did, then this will be the most important presentation you watch this year, because you're about to discover how all of these issues are connected and how they all come from the same root cause and why it all has to do with your prostate health. Most importantly, in the next 6 minutes, I'll go beyond the lies and deceptions of Big Pharma to give you this completely safe, all-natural fix, which you can trust completely. Because as you'll see, it's backed up by thousands of years of living proof, as well as modern scientific studies by leading doctors and universities. You'll want to pay close attention, because this is not what you might be thinking. It's not about giving up the foods you love or changing any habits. It's not about exercise. In fact, this doesn't involve any effort at all. And if you've tried treatments in the past that let you down, I feel your frustration, because I've been there. And as I tell you my incredible story, you'll see I became desperate enough to try anything. I'm going to share with you highly personal and even embarrassing details, which I wasn't sure I should put on the internet. But now that I'm getting messages from men around the world thanking me for sharing my 10-second ritual and telling me how it's changed their lives, I feel I'm honoring the second chance that the good Lord gave me. Yet because this 10-second ritual attacks the root cause and reverses these issues 100% naturally without any need for expensive medications, the big pharma billionaires want to shut me down. Now that this presentation is going viral, I've got a bullseye on my back, which is why this presentation could vanish at any time. So watch this now while you can until the very end. First, I must ask you, are you showing any warning signs of a prostate problem? Because the 10-second bedtime ritual that gave me back the hardest steel erections, deep, restful, rejuvenating sleep, and unstoppable confidence I had at 25 years old, all has to do with BPH. Benign prostatic hyperplasia is also known as prostate gland enlargement. Your prostate is a muscular gland between your bladder and penis. Normally, it's around the size of a walnut, and it's a key part of what makes us men. Your prostate creates special enzymes and hormones that activate your sperm. When you ejaculate, your prostate pushes it out. But as we get into our 40s and beyond, it begins to weaken and swell up. In half of men over 50, it balloons up to the size of a lemon. This puts pressure on your bladder, which causes you to feel an urge to urinate even when you don't need to. Meanwhile, your body begins to produce a manhood-destroying chemical that no one has been telling you about. But before I tell you about this dangerous chemical and how it slowly destroys our manhood, let's see if you've been experiencing any of these warning signs of a swollen prostate. Have you been waking up at night to go to the toilet? Have you been urinating more than usual, but you feel like you can't fully empty your bladder? After you think you're done, do you get any leakage? Do you have trouble urinating at all, like your bladder feels the need to go but nothing comes out? Has the volume of your ejaculations become noticeably smaller? These are all indicators of BPH. And if you don't take action now, using this simple 10-second ritual I'm going to hand you shortly, the act of urinating can become uncomfortable, even painful, to the point where every drop of pee feels like a curse. And this may already be affecting your sexual function. As your prostate swells and grows weaker, it can reduce your sex drive and interfere with your ability to get and keep an erection, and kill the pleasure you get from finishing, because your ejaculations go from being a great big gush to a puny, pitiful dribble. Over time, as your prostate becomes inflamed, you may not want to ejaculate at all because it causes you intense, burning pain, like trying to squeeze out razor blades. And you don't want this, so watch this next part closely. Nearly every man is missing one thing that holds the key to boosting and protecting your prostate function. And in my case, having to constantly get up and go to the bathroom during the night became more than annoying. It was wrecking my energy and mood during the day because I wasn't getting the deep, restful sleep we need to function properly. It was also slowly destroying my sex life with my wife. I could barely remember what it felt like to get a raging, stiff erection and enjoy great sex and a satisfying finish. On the rare occasions when I could get hard, when it was time to unload, it felt nothing like my younger years. Instead of blowing a thick, satisfying load and feeling intense relief, my ejaculations were like trying to squeeze the last few drops out of an empty tube of toothpaste. Yet once I discovered my simple ritual, I was able to turn back the clock on my prostate and restore its full function, back to when I was in my 20s and feeling like a bulletproof stud. It also feels great knowing I'm supporting and protecting my prostate for the future. And today, now that I'm using this simple bedtime ritual, I'm sleeping through the night like a baby, peeing like a racehorse, and my ejaculations are like volcanic eruptions. No more dribbles or drops, or that irritating feeling that I need to pee when I really don't. And now that I'm getting full strength, vein bulging erections again, I feel more sensitive down there too, which makes sex feel more exciting and pleasurable than it's been in years. My favorite part? When it comes time for me to unload, I'm launching cannon blasts that give me 10 times more pleasure and make my wife moan with delight. That's an extra bonus I'd never expected. When you can spray your woman with a massive money shot, it's the sign of a virile, dominant alpha male, and it turns a woman on like crazy. Men of any age can perform again like when they were 25 years old once they know this one thing. Because what I'm about to show you isn't a temporary treatment. It's not putting a band-aid on the problem. This 10-second bedtime ritual attacks the root cause of the problem and reverses it. The so-called experts might tell you that a weak prostate and all of the headaches and sexual problems that come with it are just a fact of getting older. But none of this needs to happen. There's a hidden reason why men develop these problems around your age, and you'll soon understand this reason and see that none of this is your fault. It's not about your lifestyle. It isn't about the wrong diet or not enough exercise. It's about knowing the hidden root cause and the 10-second bedtime ritual that fixes it safely and all naturally. But first, I feel like you should know my story and how the good Lord gave me this second chance to share it with you. My name is Nick, and this is my wife, Cindy. But that's not me with her in the picture. That's the younger man she cheated on me with after 15 years together. The worst part is, I couldn't really blame her because I let our sex life die. Not because I stopped loving her or no longer found her attractive, and not because she was giving me the "not tonight, I've got a headache" excuse. I adored my gorgeous wife. She still turned heads wherever we went, and she never lost her desire for sex. It was my sex drive that had fizzled out, and getting an erection and keeping it made trying to do it a chore. I'd gone to my doctor and gotten a prescription for the little blue pills, but the side effects were brutal. Blurred vision, pounding headaches. I couldn't even finish. My body, my confidence, my manhood. When I reached middle age, it all seemed to fall apart so quickly. What hurt even worse was that I used to pride myself on keeping in shape. I used to be a college athlete and a lean, mean U.S. Marine. But while I was still in my 40s, I was already feeling old, slow, aching, and throbbing in places I'd never noticed before. And never feeling rested because I couldn't get a good night's sleep. I was waking up to pee 5 or even 10 times a night. But when I'd stand over the bowl, I could barely squeeze out a few sad little drops. Then back to bed, only to wake up an hour later with my bladder throbbing again. It's why I could barely get through the day at my job, much less stick to an exercise routine. So I started putting on weight, especially around my belly, and the aches and pains grew worse. And as if this wasn't depressing enough, my hair was rapidly disappearing. I had no idea this was all due to the same hidden root cause, which I'll tell you about in a moment. But back then, when I went to my doctor and got my blood work done, all he gave me was the standard advice: lose weight, cut back on the alcohol, and so on. So I tried every natural fix I came across. I went on a diet, started taking morning walks, tried Chinese acupuncture, went to a nutritionist and bought all kinds of herbs and vitamins, and I even went to a hypnotherapist who could supposedly cure my erectile dysfunction. But the needle on my scale was barely budging. I still couldn't satisfy my wife, and my urination issues were getting worse. The worst part was knowing I was letting down my family, like the day of my son Tommy's championship baseball game. I'd never seen him so excited. In the bottom of the 9th inning, with the game on the line, he stepped up to the plate and blasted a home run. As Tommy's coaches and teammates swarmed him, celebrating their victory, Tommy looked up to the stands searching for me. But I wasn't there. I was in the bathroom, forced to go again by my throbbing bladder. I'll never forget the crushed look on his face when he saw me walking back towards the field, and Cindy and I were growing further apart. Deep down, I knew I was failing her, because women still want and need that intimacy. And when you don't give it to her, or can't give it to her, she begins to feel ashamed, unwanted, and unloved. She worries you no longer find her attractive. She may suspect you're getting your needs fulfilled by someone else. She might even start looking to satisfy her needs with someone else. I hated letting Cindy down and feeling like some sorry excuse for a man. And eventually, we were barely speaking at all. Until one night, I made that desperate mistake that nearly blew up my heart like a grenade. On the way home from work, I stopped.